And I'm only on a gram a gear at this point.
Okay.
And no HGH, only a gram.
I loved the way Scott Stevenson explained it. He said that, when it comes to solidifying the gains, which is a term that Dante Trudel, I think, came up with, solidify the gains. Our bodies don't have the infrastructure to hold that additional muscle out the gate. We need to develop that. And that's what that solidifying period is all about. And here was Scott's analogy. He said that like when a city expands, and first there's the city and then it's surrounded by the countryside, and then suburbs start to pop up. They don't put post offices out in the middle of cornfields, eventually hoping that one day a subdivision is going to grow up around it. They're going to expand the city, and then when the current post office no longer can handle the amount of volume of work that it has, they're going to put another post office in. That's that support structure that we're looking for, versus if you say go up 30 pounds and now you immediately come off gear, number one. Number two, you don't train as hard. And number three, you reduce the food. You just lost all three of the factors that put that muscle on. You will downsize. You will lose the tissue that you gain because you don't have the support structure yet. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast with Dave Crosland. All of our programming is brought to you by supplementsource.ca. For our Canadians, they have great deals that change week to week. TrueNutrition.com. Use our code THINK there to get deals on all your basic bodybuilding supplements like protein, creatine, intra-workouts. We are brought to you by Strom Sports Nutrition. For those of you in the US and the UK, they have great health stacks, especially if you're on cycle. And of course, evalbloodanalysis.com. If you're in the UK, you can get your labs done by Dave. Last but not least, thank you to everybody from Patreon. Dave, we've got a bunch of fun stuff, but I got to tell you, we got a lot of crap on the last episode. People said you were breathing too much.
I'm not going to breathe on this episode.
Thank you. I didn't want to have to ask, but I'm glad that you understand. Honestly, I think it was my fault, man. Because sometimes you get real quiet, and then other times you're real loud. And I had to boost up the quiet parts, and I think I made it so that your breathing was like...
Well, we haven't had a complaint about my breathing or my phone or the dog noises for a long time. So class it as a little bit of a throwback episode. We were just bringing you back to the other days. By the way, what would you call this garment?
A house coat? Are you in your, like a... Did you have a breakdown, Dave? Are you feeling all right, buddy? You wearing a house coat right now?
So
it's a cardigan sweater.
Yeah, cardigan. Right, okay, so you call it the same thing we do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you thought that might have been like just a British word, a cardigan?
Yeah, I thought you might have some weird, fucking obscure, stupid American name for it.
It's called an open-face sweater, Dave.
Well,
Hey, listen, so of course we have a lot of listener questions. We've been beating the topic to death with the China Raw stuff, so we want to move on from that. And then, of course, we, like I said, listener questions, and then topic. Somebody had asked us, they were like, hey, why don't you guys do a topic that would be awesome to hear your first 5 cycles? So I kind of like where they're going with that. There's a lot of different directions we could take it, and obviously this is completely theoretical, because a lot of it's going to depend on how you respond. You know what I mean? So there is that. But I think we could probably help to educate some of the newer people who maybe are tuning in and have never run anything.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this, like I want a cycle ratio or I want a preset sort of plan. But I do appreciate that it helps people, and having these sort of structures makes it easier for people to make decisions around what they're going to do. So, yeah, no problem. Not a problem.
Yeah, so where would we start? We've done the first cycle
Dropping
topic.
logs. We'll start with dropping logs.
We can make that shirt. I could.
We've got to make that shirt.
Okay,
right,
I'll make the shirt.
I think there's 2 ways you can approach this as well. I think there's one way is compounds and one way is dosing. So if we say compounds, I would say single compound first cycle, single oral second cycle, double injectables third, double injectables possible oral fourth, and then sort of a bit more open book on fifth, i.e., start to be adventurous, start to try different compounds, start to see how you react with various things, but always keep that stable base that what works for you. So it could be, for argument's sake, test only. Test and say Anavar. Test and a DHT, or test and Deca. Test and a DHT or Deca and an oral.
I wouldn't want to do Deca in my first cycle.
No, I'm on about, this is third, fourth cycle on you. We're doing them in order of cycle, so cycle. Test only.
Yep.
Test an Anavar cycle number 2.
Okay, I thought you were saying, like, you could do this, or you could do this, or you could do this.
Test and another compound, Deca or DHT, in third cycle. Probably DHT if you're a bit inexperienced and you still don't really know how you're going to react. Then fourth cycle could be test and Deca, and maybe you'd add an oral back in. And then fifth cycle, you can start going, right, I know how I react on test and mast. Let's try a bit of EQ, or let's try a bit of Deca if you haven't used it at that point. And then start to throw in a third that you can vary just so you can see how you react.
I agree with you. I got a different take. Like, first of all, let me be clear. I 100% agree with you. I think you'll also agree with me on my other take. How about this take, Dave? First cycle is test. Mm-hmm. Second cycle is the same amount of test because you did good on the first cycle. Guess what your third cycle is? The same amount of test because you did really good on the second. There is that too,
there is
right?
Definitely that as well. Yeah, why fix what's not broken? And I think most people are going to want to escalate cycles. Why? There'll be no reason behind it. Yeah, it's just more is more. Yeah, nothing exceeds like excess. You know that. It's a phrase I live by for many years. But I do think the nature of us people, the sport, what we do, there's always going to be that drive to take more. But the reality, if you did a cycle of 400 mega test and you grew well, there is no reason why you can't do another cycle of 400 mg test and still grow well. And you may well do. Obviously, if you don't, then you might want to step back and review. But if you still grow well, then again, why not do 400 mg test for your third cycle? Yeah. So I definitely don't have an issue with that. It's definitely going to go against the grain of what most people will want to do, but I fully agree. I mean, you see it in coaching, I see it in coaching. People do their first cycle. They're nervous as hell about doing it. They're very apprehensive about injection. They're very apprehensive about going on gear. By about week 6, they're saying, right, can I add some trend? Can I do this? Can I do that?
Or they're like, hey, I know it's early, but I wanted to start planning my second cycle now, 5 weeks into the first one.
Yeah.
What can we add to that next one?
Yes, and it doesn't take long before that door is open and those floodgates do flow. But you have a very valid point. It won't be a popular one, but it'll be that you can repeat what works several times until it doesn't work.
Yeah, and you know what? Too, the benefit of that is that because you can get more out of less than we think. That said, there are a lot of people now who are really into the low dosing, and if we say like, oh, do a 500 milligram cycle, you'll have people that comment and they're like, oh, 500? Well, you don't need that much. And then we'll say, oh, okay, then do a 400. And they'll be like, oh, you don't need that much. And it'll be 300. And they'll be like, that's still a lot.
I really like the impressions here.
Yeah, that's the way I read the comment when someone says that.
You put Daft Voices into your headphones.
That's the voice I hear when I see it on the screen. But for real, man, we can't win, That said, if you're in that 300 to 500 milligram test range, you can probably do that multiple times. And guess what? That leaves you a lot of room to go up down the road and down the road again, versus if you start with really high doses, you're only going to want to go up from there,
I've never actually, though I have considered that, I've just had a thought about it in a different way. So one of the techniques I use with training is set limits. In what I do is I'll only allow them to do so much volume.
Okay.
To force them to increase the intensity within the volume they have.
Kuba does that too, yeah.
So does it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So I might say, right, you've only got 14 sets total for chest. So you're going to have to make those sets count.
Yep.
Which forces people to be much more aware of the quality of the sets, the quality of the rep, and the level of intensity they're generating. That same principle could easily be applied to cycling. You're not allowed to go over 500 milligrams, so you better make sure that everything else you're doing is on point so you maximize everything you can get out of that. And it wouldn't be, if you have the self-discipline, it wouldn't be a bad attitude to have about it. Limit the dose, limit the compounds, and make them work for you.
Yeah. I like it. I hope that this gives everybody a little bit of a background. And I know we just kind of roughly went over it, but hey, we talk about the nuances of setting up a cycle all the time on this show. So we'll call that just kind of a Cliff's Notes version of how to progress through your first 5 cycles. Is there anything else we should add to that, Dave?
Yeah, look, I obviously, I have a blood testing company. I am pro-testing, but we have covered this in the past, though it has been a long time ago. I don't believe in unnecessary testing, but if you're going to do repetitive cycles, you also need to be responsible on making sure that the potentials are all covered.
Good point.
It doesn't mean you have to test before, during, and after every cycle at all. But I would recommend that there is a test in between each cycle to make sure that you are in a position to go back on to your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th cycle, and you're not needing to deal with some things that are starting to get wayward.
And what's an average amount of time, would you say? Obviously, labs would determine the actual amount of time, but what's an average amount of time between this 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th cycle?
I still like the old school, what you did on, do off. But I would say no less than 8 weeks.
Yeah, I'd go with 8 weeks. That's usually when I have guys like kind of gear up to get ready to go back on is 8 weeks, especially if you're not recovering your natural test. If you're a TRT guy already, it's not like that, because that's really the biggest factor a lot of times, right? You know, is getting that natural test kicked back on.
If you have to do a PCT, then obviously that window in between is probably going to be longer, to be fair, because you need time for the PCT. Then you need time for the PCT drugs to leave the system and see where your natural support is. That in its own right is going to be 8 to 10 weeks by the time you've done that process. So, you know, the break in a PCT scenario for a natural return is probably going to be longer.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, 8 weeks, but I think people do tend to go back on way too quick. And we're scared to stay off. And yet when I have clients that are forced to stay off for other reasons, it might be just social calendars or work schedules or things where they know, look, I'm going to be away there, I'm going to be away there. It's not really much point me out in the cycle now. When they do actually get to the cycle 3, 4, 5 weeks delayed than what they had originally planned, they actually end up usually being a lot better.
Yeah.
And they make a lot better progress as well. So, don't be scared to extend that break. It isn't going to do you any harm.
All right, guys. So a bunch of you had asked for tank tops. So the day has finally come that we've got them. If you're interested in one of our tanks, check them out at the merch store. I'll have links below. And here's the deal. I had been just waiting till I could find a shirt that I believed in. These are super soft, super lightweight, nice thin material. It washes well. It wears well. You can support the podcast and look freaking jacked at your gym. And hey, who knows? You might end up meeting somebody else that listens to the shows too. I've had that happen more than once. Somebody's like, hey, you listen to that podcast? I like those guys too. And before you know it, there's a budding bromance just waiting to happen. So if you want to look freaking jacked and support the podcast, you guys can do that all at the same time. Just check out the shirts. And thank you for watching our shows. This is freaking fun. I love doing this stuff, and I'm happy you guys are here. Bam! There we go. Get the good light.
All right. So listen, we have our normal listener questions. And by the way, guys, if you're new here and you haven't subscribed, we'd love to have you along for everything we do. We have several bodybuilding podcasts that come out each week. This show comes out Monday. You can comment on the latest episode with your questions. We'll be happy to tackle them. That said, Dave, I put out a question thread on YouTube for It's Just Bodybuilding Sunday night or yesterday morning because we needed listener questions. And Ron and Dusty, they don't do like a ton of in-depth gear stuff. We got like 55 replies. Every single one of them was a steroid question. Like every single one.
Yeah, people don't want to know about training or diet, mate. They just want to know about drugs.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
so
the nature of the world, isn't it? Yeah.
Let's try to rapid fire through these. We'll try to get through as many.
So are you telling me that I've got Dusty and Skip's cast-offs? Is that what you're saying? I've just got the crumbs off their table.
Dusty and Ron, and no,
Sorry.
no,
Ron.
it's
Sorry, I apologize, Ron. Wrong one.
it's the case is that you're the one who's qualified to answer these questions.
I
Steve.
disagree with that.
All right, we'll just take them quickly here. Primobolan all year long with test. What do you think?
No, simple. Move on.
No.
No.
We've talked about that before. Cholesterol is definitely not going to be pretty.
Yeah,
Plus, if you listen to our last 2 episodes, I mean, we've had people, Dave, that are like, I still get Primo all day long.
I will go on record now, and I will say it, that there will be people in 5 to 10 years' time that will be regretting their overuse of Primo.
Yeah. Why?
Because they will have had a heart attack.
Blunt Force Tanya says they've all, quote, got training and nutrition locked in.
Oh, when's the last time someone said to you, you know what, my training's shit, so I'm going to take extra drugs?
Never.
No, but I can show you a lot of people who it is.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. All right. What do you say that a moderate dose of GH, 4 to 5 units, is worth running for bodybuilding purposes if you're in your early 20s?
Ooh. I would say there's possibly an argument for diminishing return at that age. I would say probably 5's going to push you above what you're naturally doing, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
By quite some way. But there would also be argument that, you know what, at that age, you could probably give it a skip and spend the money on something else.
Yeah. Yeah, there is that, man. It's not 4 to 5 units. It's not like it's going to be... I'd say try it.
It's not going to be life-changing, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the
Trust
way,
me,
I did
when
talk
you get
to
the wrong
Chase
side
Irons.
of 40, you'll want it then. Go on.
Yeah. I talked to Chase Irons at the Olympia, and I asked him what he thought about... by the way, he lost his channel, man. Got booted off of YouTube. But I asked him about what he thought about his high-dose experiment with GH. You know, he had run that long-term, like a bottle of Serostim a day, and he said he felt like he did gain solid tissue from it. And that said, he's like, I don't want to be big anymore. I'm sizing down.
All right, guys, I'm hiding out from Mutant for the moment. I found Chase Irons. What's going on, man?
What's up?
So I wanted to ask you, what was the highest you took your GH?
I mean, I went I went beyond 18 IUs of Serostim. I went, God, what did I do? I think I was doing 22, 24. Ooh. Yeah.
All right. You blew up, dude. Like,
Well,
you
I mean-
blew the fuck up.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely works.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people will say that it's just like water retention, but I feel that it definitely changed my physique
Yeah.
long term. In that, you know, coming back in, because like I'm not on any of that now.
You like
and,
intentionally been kind of sizing down some, right?
Yeah, but you know, I'm still like I'm 235-ish pounds
Okay.
now, and it's definitely a different 235 than I've had in the past. So, and I'm only on a gram of gear at this point,
Okay.
and no
only.
HGH, only a gram, only a gram at this point. So, but it's like what is it? It's like 600 tests, 300 EQ.
It's like just TRT plus. at this point.
Yeah. So, and things are holding together really well. So,
Yeah.
I feel like it's good to push through a plateau,
Okay.
to like throw those
Yeah.
kind of short.
That's
things
what
in.
I wanted to ask was like, now that you've been through the other side of it,
Yeah.
you know, and we've always heard the more you can afford. What's your take?
I mean, you should, if you can afford to do it, absolutely do it. Do it where you can like do a high dose for like 12 weeks to blast through a plateau, and then because the idea is like it's going to activate those satellite cells to turn into muscle fibers, and then you take the steroids and grow those muscle fibers,
Yeah.
and then you've got them.
So, but he was like, he felt he did make long-term progress out of it.
Did he give any insight as to why?
He didn't really say. He just felt like there was more tissue. The tissue came on faster.
No,
and it stayed.
I'm on about this downsizing. Sorry, I didn't clarify myself very well.
Oh, he said that he's just over it. He doesn't have anything to prove. He's got, family, and he you know what? And he's got a lot to offer the world without, having to be a mass monster. He doesn't need to stress his body like that. I think that's the main thing he was looking at.
I think he realized that being big is painful in many aspects.
Yeah. Hey, and listen, I'm good with that. Like, I agree. I do feel like he's got a lot to add to the world beyond just being massive. And I even told him this on DM, but I was kind of concerned about him that he was gonna, because he got a lot of attention when he blew up. You know what I mean? And there's kind of an addictive thing to that, where like, then you start equating like, well, if I ever downsize, then I'm no longer going to get right. People aren't going to listen to me anymore. And I was concerned he was going to go down that road to his detriment,
Do you think there's been something that has been a catalyst to this, or do you think it's just a general fuck, it's hard work living big?
I think he just decided he didn't want. I don't know. You'd have to ask him, I guess. You'd have to ask him, because we didn't talk about like the difficulties of maintaining it, but he did sound to be like a lot more comfortable. You know what I mean? Not being supersized.
It is a toll, and it's a toll that you won't. I suppose it's like comp prep. You don't realize how hard it is till you actually experience it. So I was just curious. No, I think he's made a very clever decision, and you're right. It doesn't define him, and he doesn't need to be massive to spread word, message, or show his intellect. So I think he's done a very good decision. I was just curious as to the motivations behind it. That was all.
How necessary is a holding period when transitioning from a growth phase to a cut? I'd rather continue to grow for whatever length of time the holding period is, but I'm open to being sold on the idea.
I think you need a period of consolidation, but that doesn't mean you can't do something. Generally, what I like to do is keep food the same, keep training the same, but I may add some cardio or something of that nature, rather than going into a full-blown cut. But you could do a mild calorie decrease without having any real detrimental effect, I would have said. I think where you're going to have problems is if you come off cycle and because you've finished a bulk, and then you're like, right, I'm dropping 1,000 calories. Then I think that would be a negative. But I don't think it has to be this super conscious hold. I think it just has to be, let's not reverse direction in any extreme ways here. Give the body time to adjust, get used to this new tissue. If you want to add a bit of cardio, that's fine. You're obviously going to drop some fullness and water retention with coming off a bulk cycle anyway. So there's going to be some changes from that, at least, with it anyway. But yeah, I do think some period of consolidation is important, but I don't think it needs to be this monk-like, I've got to just not do anything for 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, if you want to keep growing. So I think here's the thing, man. You end the growth phase, unless you're on some sort of a time frame, right? Like, let's say that you're not competing, you're just trying to grow and get as big as you can. He said, well, instead of a holding phase, I would rather continue to grow. Well, then continue to grow. You know what I mean? Like, you can continue to grow after the cycle is over.
No, I agree. You can. And very often you will continue to grow as the stress of the drugs drops, but the anabolic effect is still present.
Yeah, I think that we usually, I see, unless we're on a time frame, we end the growth phase because either our health is at a point where we need to take a step back, or body fat is at a point where we can't grow anymore. Like, we need to now recomp in order to get back into growing. That said, the whole concept, I loved the way Scott Stevenson explained it. He said that when it comes to solidifying the gains, which is a term that Dante Trudel, I think, came up with, solidify the gains, was that it's kind of like this. Our bodies don't have the infrastructure to hold that additional muscle out the gate. We need to develop that. And that's what that solidifying period is all about. So you can continue to grow and solidify at the same time. You don't need to be at a stagnant place. And here was Scott's analogy. He said that when a city expands, and first there's the city and then it's surrounded by the countryside, and then suburbs start to pop up. They don't put post offices out in the middle of cornfields, eventually hoping that one day a subdivision is going to grow up around it. They're going to expand the city, and then when the current post office no longer can handle the amount of volume of work that it has, they're going to put another post office in. That's what solidifying the gains are. We need time for those satellite cells to mature and turn into what they're going to grow into, versus, you know, we just need the support structure. That's that support structure that we're looking for, versus if you say go up 30 pounds and now you immediately come off gear, number one. Number two, you don't train as hard, and number three, you reduce the food. You just lost all three of the factors that put that muscle on. You will downsize. You will lose the tissue that you gain because you don't have the support structure yet.
No, I completely agree.
All right. Can we watch these live? Yeah, you can watch them on the Think Big Live channel. Hunger associated with running, test, and EQ. Is it actual caloric need due to burning through, excuse me, I gotta turn my lights up here. I've got the screen turned down. Burning through what you've eaten, or strict response to anabolics. Running it for the first time in a gaining phase, and I don't want to increase calories when I'm not ready. So I guess he's getting an increased hunger from EQ and test.
It's a bit of both. There's definitely going to be a slightly increase in calorie demand from being on anabolics, and in some, not everybody, but in some people, EQ will also significantly increase your appetite. So the desire to eat will be increased. That not necessarily means you require. However, I wouldn't be judging my calorie intakes just on whether I was hungry or not. It helps if you are having to push food, that you are hungry and want to, but I would be more looking at body composition, physical weight gain, progress in the gym. Am I stronger? Am I physically bigger? Am I leaner? Is my weight increasing? And if I'm leaner but my weight's not increasing, it will depend where you are in body composition. If you're already in a place where your condition is okay, then it'll be like, you know what, I'm going to increase calories. If you are in a position where you want to improve your condition anyway, well then no, I'll hold calories and let this recomp continue because it means I'm getting leaner. So those would be the sort of markers I'd be looking at, and the decisions and conversations I'd be having with myself. Not, I'm hungry so I'm going to eat more.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, you end up looking like me.
Ooh, Dave, be nice to yourself.
I'm beautiful, but I'm fat. So that's fine. I can live with that.
We had somebody say that we should introduce you to Retta.
Is she a nice person?
That's what they commented on the last episode.
Is Retta a nice person? I mean, I've never met her.
Yeah, I met Retta earlier this year. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bag of Trinibol that expires in December of this year. How long, if at all, will the T-ball be good for after the expiration date, Dave? Forever and ever, 10 years.
You know what? You probably have in your presence now the world expert on using out-of-date gear. Mr. Cheap Ass himself, Scott, I'm not throwing it away, McNally.
Why would you throw good gear away, Dave? Why would you throw good gear away? That's my question.
How do you know it's good?
Because it works. Because it worked. So you hold on to it. You got 20 tabs of Anadrol, you're going to hold on to those. You got 15 tabs of Halo, you're going to hold on to those.
I do actually think I do have some shit that's over 15-year-old kicking about.
I think I saw it in your suitcase.
No, bits that are left over from what I used to use. I do think there are still some bits floating around.
Yeah,
do you want me to send it you so you can use it? See if you die.
No. You hold on to it. I would say as long as you store it in a cool, dry place, it's going to be pretty much indefinitely good. Worst case scenario, you're going to lose a little bit of strength. So a 50 milligram tab, worst case, man, a decade later, maybe it's 40 milligrams.
Yeah, I think with an oral, all you're going to lose is quality in the sense of strength. I don't think you've got any adulteration problems there in other ways. Injectables, potentially a little bit more problematic.
Maybe, but if it's sealed and it's oil,
More risk of a bacterial load though with an injection where there isn't with an oral. An oral's just going to be weak.
Yeah, I go with you on that. Just a comment here. He said this was on our last episode where we were talking about the shutdowns and all that. He said, "Thank God I went back to the doctor and got off all the juicy juice. I'm now cruising at 450 tests a week."
Went back to the doctor and got off all the juicy juice.
Mm-hmm. Now he's just running like a good strong TRT dose, Dave, at 450.
Okay, yeah.
He also did say, "I'm trying to be funny, but also serious." I think he knew he'd get under your skin by saying that.
No, not get under my skin. He can do what he wants.
My
skin is not the dosage. My skin is the label. That's the bit I have objection with.
I know. Well, he said like well, he called it cruise, so I guess he didn't even call it.
Yeah,
cruise.
see,
if he would have said like 450 TRT, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's those words.
Okay. What to do in my labs, Boldenon seems as estrogen, the same as trend, and I can't get a sensitive E2 test.
Boldenon does not show as estrogen.
Yeah. He says, "How would I know how much it lowers my E2 for me?" Yeah, it doesn't.
Trend shows as estrogen. Boldenon does not. There's not a great deal you can do. Two anomalies you'll see in labs from gear around the drugs is obviously trend will show as estrogen. That's one. Masteron doesn't show as fuck all and doesn't lower estrogen. The other thing is fast actors will give you hormonal spikes. So you'll very commonly see very high test levels if somebody's on prop or somebody's on MPP that are way above what you'd expect for the dosing they're doing, and you can have the same with estrogen as well with Trenase. So there isn't really anything you can do. If you can't get an LCMS, there's not really anything you can do around testing your estrogen, but you can go off feel. And believe it or not, bodybuilders in the 80s and 90s used to actually go, how do I feel and how do I look?
And in the 2000s too.
Yeah,
really.
and do I have any visual symptoms or physical symptoms of high estrogen? So I'm being a sarcastic twat.
Wait, are you saying we should use common sense, Dave?
I'm just saying that there is a possibility to apply the fact that we know what estrogen does. Are you experiencing any symptoms of it? If not, then whether your E2 is high or not in a lab, I would be less concerned.
I'm with you, 110%. Hi, I'm a huge fan of the show. I started watching a year and a half ago and haven't missed an episode. I wanted to ask Dave, what were your thoughts on inhibiting the CYP3A4 enzyme to achieve a more potent effect with a much more conservative dose, perhaps starting with weak to medium inhibitors and then moving to stronger ones like grapefruit? Thanks. So he wants to, you know, the old thing of like, hey, drink grapefruit juice to make your Dbol stronger.
I have no idea, is the honest answer.
Yeah.
I did meet a gentleman at the weekend that was very much experimenting some mad crazy shit as far as I was concerned.
What do you mean?
Very, very astronomically high doses of orals, but huge amount of chemicals to offset negatives and such like.
Like, what are we talking for dosage?
Gram daily.
Of orals? Oh, that's... Why?
Well,
I have a problem with that.
It was an experiment. It was a pure experiment.
Yeah, but
he was doing a lot of things, and I honestly can't remember half of it, to offset the negative impacts that would be experienced from those orals. I didn't have either the environment to have a proper conversation because it was loud as fuck. PCA always is. Or even the opportunity time-wise. Yeah, I'm not sure how it was going for him anymore. But I didn't see him on stage either, so I have no idea what his physique looks like or anything.
Yeah.
But it was obviously a very intelligent individual. There was no
Maybe too
mistaking
smart. Maybe too
Possibly,
smart.
possibly.
You know what I mean?
But I don't have any real knowledge on this subject at all. It's not something I've looked at. It's not something that I get that reducing the metabolism will reduce the dose
breakdown.
and the breakdown. So yeah, obviously, if you reduce the metabolism of the drug's going to stay active for longer. Levels are going to stay higher off a lower dose. So you need less, but I don't think that mitigates risk. Because you still got the elevation of circulation of the compound of anabolics within the system. You're just saving some money on the actual gear.
Yeah.
But probably spending more on the compounds to facilitate this process. So I would have said it's just cheaper to buy more gear.
Yeah. Here's what I've noticed is that it's not as controllable as increasing the dose. So if you wanted to increase your level, you can do that by adding a little bit more, and I think that's a lot more predictable was the word that I was going for. There's no real reason, honestly, too. I'm almost offended by it's almost like this over intellectualizing thing that we do and with bodybuilding, and we, not with him, but like the whole 1,000 milligrams per day. It was per day of orals? Is that what you said?
I think it was more.
So here's the thing, man. It's like,
because I actually said to him,
doing
"Are you not dead yet?" And he kept walking past me, going, "Still alive."
what are we doing here? Are we experimenters? Are we
Yes,
scientists?
this is just pure
or
experimentation.
Are we bodybuilders? I think we lose sight sometimes of what the goal is.
I think there are people that are both, and I think there are people that are potentially more scientists than they are bodybuilders, and it's just a platform that interests them, and they want to broaden, experiment, which I can't really argue with the experimental thing. I sort of did that myself. All right, maybe not this scientific, but I did experiment in what would happen with higher doses because I didn't know. So I can't really, I'd be a hypocrite to argue on that. It did seem extreme, but it was, like I say, it was difficult to have a conversation because the volume of music is so loud.
Yeah.
So I can't really offer any more insight on that. But he did say he wasn't doing it for any result physically as such. It was more experimental just to see what happened and how it happened.
Yeah.
And I sort of get that.
It's not
logic.
bodybuilding, though, right?
No, but he wasn't saying it was. He was just saying it was experimental. But going back to the question in hand, I'm not so sure there is enough of a reason to do it, if I'm honest.
No, I think.
But I don't know enough about the mechanisms at play to be able to discuss the prospect anyway.
All right, back to the raw stuff. Is China the only place on the planet that stuff grows to make raws? Can laws be made in the UK and the US or wherever? Thanks, Mike.
I think
appreciate it.
China is a very industrialized nation. And it is the powerhouse of industry, probably globally, to be fair. And I think, for one, they have the facilities to do it. Can it be done elsewhere? Yes, definitely can. Though other countries wouldn't lend themselves legally to production being that easy, particularly for a UGL market anyway. Definitely not America, and definitely not the UK. We had some interesting information this week from somebody who I know who had a slightly different spin. And effectively what it was the controlling bodies within China putting their foot down and going... Because I've always been under the impression that China didn't really give a fuck what China does outside of China. Chinese government, like, if you want to sell control things in another country... We don't care. As long as you're paying your taxes here, we get our cut financially, and you're not breaking our laws. I don't really give a shit what you export, which is why a lot of the stuff they export, even from stuff like toys and clothing, wouldn't meet manufacturing standards in half the world.
Yeah.
They make good stuff, but they also make absolute cheap, dangerous garbage.
What about these bears that are supposed to like cure depression, something like that?
Okay. They make also. The Chinese industry is fantastic in the sense that they make this stuff that's ridiculously cheap and so poor quality, I can't believe it can actually be made, right through to very sophisticated, very high-end, very technological advanced products that blow other countries way out of the water. It's just, they've got this massive spectrum of product quality.
Have you seen those? You haven't seen those bears?
No.
I haven't either. But Victoria was telling me about them. They
I mean,
advertise them as like helping with depression and stuff. They're like electronic bears. But you go to buy one and it's not at all what it looked like in the commercial. And it burns your house down when you put batteries in it.
Sounds like a film, huh? So this person's take was that there has been seizures and there has been arrests, and they have made examples of certain companies because the Chinese government realised there was actually a lot of fucking money being made that they weren't seeing a penny of. So they made some examples and prosecute them under various things as a way of going, right, rest of you, pay your dues, get properly licensed, and stop doing the black market stuff. We don't care that you send it abroad. We don't care that you supply UGL chains. But what we do care is that you're doing it without paying tax on it.
Which that makes a lot of sense. That sounds like China to me. You know what I mean?
That did to me. It's the first theory I've had that hasn't left me with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And it would then sit that we've heard stories that some large UGLs have actually obtained licenses to manufacture. And that would then also make sense, because if China's main enforcement concern was they're not getting their financial cut, and they're saying, look, we don't give a fuck about you making it as long as you're licensed to do it and we get our commission out of that, then the fact that they've granted license to a couple of big UGLs to allow them to make the raw in China would also sit true. So that fits that story as well, then fits into that pocket quite well. So at the moment, I'm sort of, that sounds about right. So it is a case of too much black market money, not enough taxes being paid. We're not stopping you selling abroad, but you are going to pay tax on it if you do make it. So therefore, it is going to push the raw price up a little bit. So I think that's going to be the end of this. Is we'll see an increase in raw prices. How big that'll be, I don't know. Depends on market constraints against what the tax implications are going to be about declaring your manufacturer of raw.
Yeah.
But I do think that the supply chain will correct itself in time.
Oh God, it has to. You know,
it's too big a market. I mean, we're not talking millions. We're talking billions.
Well,
the global steroid market must be billions of UGL.
We talked about, I briefly mentioned it, but I talked to somebody who had said that some of these the big underground labs that have true facilities, that they're doing their own production and they're getting the licensing to do it themselves. So, and I remember, Dave, so when Operation Raw Deal happened, everything got shut down in 2006 or 7. And it was tough times. A bottle of Primo was going for about 4 times the price. And that's all you could get was very minimum amount of stuff. But then one company that's still around today, letters GP, came out with a very reasonably priced product. And guess what they did? They scooped up the market, and it forced everybody else to drive their prices down. So it will be tough, but it eventually will get better.
Yeah, it will. It will work out. Now, the person I was speaking to suggested 12 months, and I think that's probably a reasonable estimate. Seems fair to me.
Yeah, I'd go with that. I feel like, because it's going to take time to get everything built back up to where it was. What is the best way to keep genetically high estrogen lower, drugs or not? Context. I've been confirmed grade 1 gyno in both nipples, but I've had boobs my whole life. Tests when I was born showed high estrogen levels / exposure. Body fat is relatively okay. being around 20 to 22%. I do strongman training, so being leaner isn't the greatest idea. Can't diet down too much because the tissue too prominent.
So is surgery not an option? Did I miss that?
He didn't say that. He didn't say he couldn't. He just wanted to know best ways to best ways to keep genetically high estrogen lower.
I think there's a few things here. If he's super susceptible to gyno, which it sounds like that is a genetic trait within him, then one thing I would seriously be considering the surgery, because it's going to be a problem he's going to have all his life, irrespective of his drug use, as he has had in his younger years. I think Novadex is going to be a stalwart to any cycle as that line of defense. And then obviously you're going to be looking at low aromatizing compounds, Mast, Primo, EQ are the drugs you're probably going to lean into. You can use aromatizing compounds, you're just going to have to be on top with the AIs. And before everyone jumps, oh, you can't use AIs. Yes, you fucking can. They are not the devil. You are allowed to use them.
Yeah. Just understand, with every compound, there is
risk.
Yeah.
There are negative impacts. And yes, AIs will affect your HC. Oh, guess what? So does Primo.
Yeah.
You know, just fucking hell. This attitude we have of this sort of singularity with things and this all in, no fucking deviation. Jesus Christ. Tool for the job.
Yeah.
Simple as. Okay,
also,
so
think about your liver health. Keep your liver health up. That way that your body will continue to break estrogen down and remove it. That's where the calcium deglucarate and the idea of glucuronidation comes in. The better you can eliminate estrogen, the lower you can keep it.
Yeah, that was I was just going to hand over to you for that, because that's one thing I've taken from you, actually, is the calcium deglucarate.
You took something from me, Dave?
I did.
You learned from me?
I do learn from you.
I learned from you, too. It's fun. I like it.
I learn a lot from you. Generally things not to do, but I do learn from you.
All right, we'll try to get through a couple more of these guys, and then we'll have to just call it, and we'll have to start over fresh, and you guys can comment on the new episode with anything that we didn't get through. 38 years old, done 3 test-only cycles. My last cycle was 3 years ago. I've been thinking about doing another cycle and maybe throwing in some Mast or Deca, mainly for joints, as mine are feeling a little beat up. Thoughts? Mast isn't going to do anything for your joints, really.
If anything, it might worsen them.
Do you feel like going on cycle does help your joints a little, though? You know what I mean? Like, kind of cushions everything?
Yeah, potentially a little bit.
Yeah.
There could be a whole world of actions that might contribute to that, but yeah, I mean, one could be slightly higher estrogen, one could be slightly greater fluid, one could be a general increase in metabolism, of proteins and things like that. I think this when you're talking about joint care and joint health, there are chemical approaches. Things like anti-inflammatory use. I'm not talking about chemical anti-inflammatory use as in naproxen or something like that. I'm meaning stuff in the lay of like glutathione. That turmeric could come in. Those sort of approaches to anti-inflammatory. One is an overview or an overhaul of your actual exercise technique to make sure that there's nothing you're actually doing that is contributing to this factor on a daily basis. And I think that's one that people often overlook, is to review how they move, what they do. Are they doing things that is making the problem worse? And then obviously you can look at chemical compounds, but Mast wouldn't be one I would go for off the top of my head, no.
All right, a couple more here. I listened to the show as a powerlifter because there's not enough detail from powerlifters about safe gear use and how to add mass effectively to become bigger and stronger. What is some advice you could give to a powerlifter who needs some more muscle to lift more weight?
Are we talking chemical advice or just general advice?
Yeah, well, you said that there's not enough steroid information for powerlifters by powerlifters, so he turns to us for that stuff. So I'm assuming he wants us, Dave, to talk about gear. What do you think? Maybe.
Well,
Dave?
yeah, but the thing is, I think one of the areas that powerlifters don't utilize is actual bodybuilding training. And I think a period of higher rep work, building a baseline with bodybuilding style training for a powerlifter in the off season is very, very useful.
You know where I thought you were going to go with that? I thought you were going to say the diet.
No, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think in the power sports, diet is probably neglected more than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Strongman particularly so. But I think it depends, you see, because there's powerlifters in weight categories where they have to watch their diet because they have to maintain their weight categories. So
they just eat less sometimes, though, because I've worked with a number of
some of it's still shit food, just less of it. Yes.
They end up. There's a balance, right? Like you don't want to be going into a meet at 5% body fat, but
no,
you can generally hold. You take a room full of powerlifters. And I'm going to say that 85% of them could be a few percent leaner, replace that with a few percent more muscle. And
perform better within the weight category. Yes, I agree completely. Yeah. Drug-wise, I would have a dual approach, very similar to bodybuilding. I would have an off-season where I would lean into stuff like Test, Ment, Deca, for building a baseline, but I would also lean into more higher rep volumized training rather than the single sort of low rep. I wouldn't even go 5.5s. I would do something a bit more reppy.
Yeah.
And I would get strong in a higher rep range, and then I would move into a comp prep scenario where I would still keep a reasonable baseline of anabolic test, possibly some Deca or some Masteron as my baseline. And then as I got closer to the show, I would lean more into the lower rep stuff and more into the high androgens, so Tren, things like that, going closer to the show.
Yep. I'm with you 100%. Get some Halo in there at the end.
Test suspension, Halo, Milbarone, all very useful sort of the last few days and on the day of show. Though I would be very careful on day of competition that you don't overload with heavy single fast-acting androgens in the morning, because I see it all the time, and then they get to the final lift of the day and they've got fucking nothing left because their CNS is fried, and it's not just from the lifts, it's from the drugs. So be sensible about your on-the-day anabolic use. Halo's great, check drops is great, M-Tren is great for just generating power on the day, but at a cost. So you try and time it so you're using them when you need it. Don't fire it all in the morning, because come mid-afternoon you will be burnt out.
Yeah, I've talked to people who their method with orals is the day of the comp, they take whatever they have left.
Seems fine.
Yeah, it can be a lot, man. All right, one more here. Old school Deca Dbol cycle, is it as effective as MPP Anadrol? Is it just better to stick to the modern cycles? What's your opinion on the old school Deca Dbol?
Nothing wrong with them. Obviously, a Deca Dbol cycle with a test base is going to be more estrogen heavy, so you are going to have to factor in better estrogen management. If you have a very good tolerance to estrogen, then that's possibly something that I'd lean into more than the modern approach. I had no issues with estrogen being super high, so if I was looking for pure power, I would probably have leaned more that way myself. But I would have said Oxy's more strength driven than Dbol, personally. But obviously it's down to how you react to the compounds as well. Oxy's also going to have more of an impact on appetite than Dbol should do, generally speaking, in the average user. So there's factors like that to consider as well. But I don't. The old school drug cycle haven't necessarily gone out of use because there was anything wrong with them. They've just gone out of use because, for a large part, they're not fashionable anymore. And part of that is to do with the management of the negative side of them. They are a little bit harder work to manage negatively. So that's where a lot of them have gone out of it. I mean, they worked particularly well for guys 20 years ago, and they will work well for guys now if done right.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. People just don't want the extra water nowadays.
Yeah, they don't want the water and they don't want the work, in the sense of, having to manage more negative sides that come from it. I don't mean the work as in doing the work to grow, but I mean
the complication.
And it makes sense. Why use test, Deca, and Dbol and have a shitload of estrogen when I can use test, Deca, Mast, get some built-in estrogen management in my cycle straight away, and then use a non-aromatizing compound like T-Bol, which is still going to give me a decent performance boost.
I wonder, Dave, if we were to do a study or some sort of a poll on how many people have gotten gyno, say in 2024 versus 2004, I bet you that the numbers would be a lot higher in 2004 because everybody was just test in Dbol, test Deca Dbol. Versus now, it's I got to have Primo in there, So I bet you that there is that safety side of things.
Yeah, and a lot of that is the same mentality and reason why it says, caution, this drink is hot on a cup of McDonald's coffee.
Yeah.
We've made cycles easier for people who don't understand the effects of the drugs particularly well to use without complication.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so popular, because it's easy. I don't have to think. I don't need to know what this drug or how it does, because I'm going to find it very difficult to screw up if I take this and this.
Yeah.
So it makes it simple. It makes it popular.
Listen, you've done a very good job today by not breathing, Dave. I'm really proud of you.
Hang on.
Dave, you're going to ruin it all.
No, because you can now edit that and cut that in wherever you want throughout the whole show. It's a little soundbite for you.
We did have Blunt Force Tanya said, as a very high-strung diagnosed tizzy who is very sensitive to noise, even I don't bitch about the sounds this much. If it bothers you that much, you can just turn the volume down. Also, Ryan said, how many cardigans were sacrificed to make Dave that one massive cardigan?
You leave my old man cardigan alone.
You like that, huh? It's a very British thing to have a cardigan like that. It looks like a very British thing.
So much fucking going on with my shoulder at the moment.
Yeah? When are you going to get back up to train with Zach Khan?
Oh, do I have to? I don't like him. He's horrible.
Is he still out there, hitting it hard and everything?
He bullies me,
Yeah, well, you need somebody to bully you to balance you out because you bully everybody else. Dave's breathing is a notification tone, my new notification tone for Halloween.
Glad I could be of service, sir. I expect royalties for every time it's used.
You got any advice for us today? Any Uncle Dave's wisdom? You just were at a show this past weekend. I know you got to meet some listeners, take some pictures, sign some babies, shake some babies.
Drop some babies.
Kiss some hands.
No, I would, though, like to say a massive well done to Josh Law, who won the men's bodybuilding and got his pro card and then came third in the pro show for PCA.
Okay.
As he just missed out on his IFBB pro card the day before at the Two Bros Grand Prix. And to Laura Hurst, who also won her pro card with PCA and came third in her pro show. And to somebody Emily Wilkinson, who won her pro show.
Oh, crap, she did.
Yeah.
Hey, good for her. That's incredible.
So Eva had a right haul when it came to staff winning shows. Not that Emily is more a friend than anything else, but
yeah.
Yes. So advice.
I got a shirt from Emily, by the way. They, her and Alex, they gave me a shirt.
Alex was ill, but he did still compete. But he
did he? He probably caught some sort of bug at the Olympia or something. Everybody always does.
So Josh, my ICD is here. That's this lumpy thing here. I don't know if you can see the lumpy thing. There's a
Oh, how's your pacemaker, Dave? It worries me to see you nursing your left shoulder.
No,
it's a good question,
it's,
Josh.
It's actually my delt. It's muscular. It's in my delt. I must have slept on it funny.
Oh, we gotta get you back into your fitness routine, Dave.
Sorry,
we gotta get you some Retta. Retta's real good. I've been doing real good with the Retta.
These earphones don't seem to be working. Said something about eating ice cream, I think it was, wasn't it?
Cakes.
Yeah.
Cakes.
I haven't got any real advice. I've been an absolute stress head this week. I have failed to manage myself completely.
Your machine's broke. I heard that before we started.
So, right, we're now with Randox. Huge lab. Massive lab. And one of their machines fucking broke and screwed up 6 of my clients' bloods.
Ooh. Does that mean they have to like redo the labs? They have to
the thing is, this is what I'm struggling with because I haven't. They're supposed to have sent me a confirmation email today that I can send to clients with what's going on. But all we know is the machine's broke, and they're like, "Well, we don't want to tell you anything until we know what we're going to do." And I said, "Well, that's fine, but I've got people hanging now, wanting to know what the fuck is going on."
Yeah.
And I look a dick because I can't explain it to them. So that's been frustrating. We've got FitX in 2 weeks, which is all the health and safety bullshit at the moment. But no, I have been an absolute stress head. Yesterday I was particularly bad.
You were just at British Finals. Did I get that correct?
PCA finals this weekend. Yeah.
So that was that with the pro show too?
It's the PCA pro show. Yes.
Okay. So that's the Two Bros show.
No.
Oh,
so
okay.
PCA, Physical Culture, have their own pro league.
Oh, I thought that I thought the amateur PCA went to the IFBB.
No, so Two Bros to the IFBB feeder.
That's right, okay.
And technically, I believe it's NPC. I believe.
Yeah,
I'm not
that
100%.
would make sense.
So, Two Bros had a show on the Saturday in Bradford, actually.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a busy weekend because Two Bros had a show on the Saturday, which was a pro qualifier, and they did the British Grand Prix IFBB Pro Show.
Yeah.
I don't think SAS competed, I believe.
He did.
Yes.
He got second. He looked good.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think it was heavily populated by IFBB pros in the sense of international stars, but there was some.
Criso was there. He looked good. Sean Clarita was there. He looked good. I heard that the show took forever. Like their timing.
It was very late finishing. Yes, I believe it was very, very late finishing. So that on the Saturday, PCA had their physique and bikini classes.
Okay.
And they had a pro show in that as well. And then on the Sunday, they had their bodybuild, women's figure, and train figure classes, and a pro show for each of those as well.
What is Emily considered? Is she like trained?
She's figure.
Is she trained
pro.
figure?
You know, I don't actually know.
Do they have the trained in the pro divisions there?
I believe so, yeah, but they don't have PCA don't have women's physique or women's bodybuild.
Okay. Yeah, because when I saw her out here, she said she was too hard for the amateur Olympia when her and Alex came out. But they wanted to have that look because the show she was doing when she went home would require that look.
Yeah, so I think she must be trained. And then she's competing at the Worlds, which is in 4 weeks. Okay.
I think that trained figure thing is that just there? I wonder if that's in Europe because I have a girl in Germany who she can get freaking nasty hard.
I think it's
so
in
if she
Europe
could do,
well.
Yeah. Do they have trained bikini?
Yes. So that's what Laura competes in, trained bikini, and that's what she won a pro card in.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
And now PCA does have European shows as well, so it's not just a UK fed. They are in other countries as well.
I guess she's going to be competing though in like whatever is going to get her to like IFBB.
Yeah, it wouldn't get her
IFBB,
to that card. Unfortunately, no. And then on Sunday it was the NABA Universe as well in Gateshead, I think it was. So it was a busy weekend for bodybuilding.
There's a lot of people in the UK that are in real good shape right now, is what you're telling me.
I wouldn't say I'm in real good shape, but I appreciate the compliment. Thank you, Scott. I'm in shape.
What are we going to do about your stress levels, Dave? How are we going to manage that now? What are we going to do going forward, buddy?
I am sorting my shit out, but fuck me, I was not good yesterday. There was lots of swearing and shouting and tantrums yesterday.
You know what? A guy I know, a good friend of mine, told me that he always feels a lot better when he is in the practice of meditating. Have you ever heard anybody say that?
Yes, and he has been doing it, and he has even had a couple of sessions today. But even today has been a little bit taxing. But I have coped a lot better.
Okay, well, I'm glad.
I also screwed up with a client, which I was extremely annoyed at myself with. But actually, if you want something off my 24 hours of experience, I would say that you also need. There's okay striving to be good. There's okay striving for improvement, but you also need to be able to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Which I struggle with at times when I screw up, and I definitely screwed up on something that came back to bite me on the arse. Didn't cost me any money as such. It cost me a little bit, but it cost me time. Well, it cost my wife time, to be fair. It took 2 hours out of her day to sort it. You do need to learn from it and grow from it, but you also need to forgive yourself with it as well. And you can't carry that through because it will then affect your decisions on the rest of the day.
Yeah. All right, we'll take that. That's some good wisdom. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Check out evalbloodanalysis.com. Get your labs done by Dave. In fact, just rush him today while the machines are down. Stress him out. Tell him that you need these labs turned around ASAP.
They've got other machines, so they're fully operational. That's not the problem. It's just the fucking 6 samples that were in that one.
Oh, I see. And, of course, go to truenutrition.com. Use our code THINK over there to get some additional savings. 10% off all your orders, plus help support the programming. And supplementsource.ca for Canadians. We talk about them. And Patreon. We'll get some. I got to get a new Patreon thread out, guys. Remind me of that when I see you over at Patreon. For another episode of the podcast, we will see you soon. Thank you, Dave.
Oh, can I do a quick shout out before we go?
Of course. What do you got?
airdelete.ca for my new coilovers. Thank you.
What is that?
airdelete.ca. I'm ordering my new coilovers from them.
Is that Canadian, huh?
Canadian, yeah. And do you know why I've gone Canadian?
Why? Tariffs?
Because tariffs and the CAD is weak as shit at the moment against the pound.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, well, Ben Poppleton just joined us again.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you soon, guys.
Bye.